Hi, my name is Dan Palmquist, DanPalmquist. It's interesting to try to describe because there is the emotional, anxious part as well as there's just I can be overwhelmed. And so overwhelming, the word overwhelming, it's not necessarily that I am upset or about any particular thing. The overwhelming just means I am processing so much information at the same time. And the anxiety comes in is when I have to do something in the midst of all of that, all of the constant kind of overwhelming chaos in my head. As someone with focus issues that have had all sorts of my life, generalized anxiety issues that I've struggled with, there's that constant, there is that actual fear part of being around people and trying to communicate at times, but the overarching picture is the constant chaos that exists in my mind that makes everything so much more difficult than it otherwise might be. This is something that I've experienced as long as I can ever remember. It started off with in elementary school, where I was always kind of a different, interesting person. Where that's just Danny. Where I've kind of always been a little bit quirky in a lot of different ways, or intense, or however you might describe it. But starting in school, where I started to have very bad panic attacks and social anxiety, especially going to school. Again, it was that combination of the really overwhelmed by the school, the bus, the people, everything, and there was also the difficulty of, for me, being able to function in the midst of the chaos that was constant in my mind. There weren't a lot of people who I was around with who were like me, or maybe if there were other people like me, they were also not out and about around a lot of other people too. And so there was definitely, it was always clear to me, and then I knew that I didn't connect well with a lot of my peers. It wasn't always something that I didn't like or was ashamed of. I tended to get along with people who were a little bit older than me, better than more my age anyway. And there were times where it was uncomfortable and it was hard, and there was that sense of inadequacy. At the same time, there were times where I was able to say that's just a part of who I am. Where it's I don't like it. There is definitely that insecurity that has affected me a lot. But there were parts of that where I'm able to recognize that I don't quite fit, I'm not normal, and I'm okay with that. There were obviously a lot of insecurities all wrapped, but for the most part, I've known that I was not like everybody else, and I was okay with that to the degree I was able to manage it. One thing I would say, though, is that I've always been pretty open and honest. I have never been particularly shy to talk about sort of the things that I've had. Like I've said, I always knew that I was different, and for better and worse, as a whole, I was willing to accept that. But there's something in me that I've always been relatively open to, because I always felt that if I'm someone who doesn't connect with a lot of people anyway, well, people know this about me. I have found that through my life that it's been helpful, that I found people who are able to be honest with me when they didn't feel that they had, when they had that stress. They didn't really feel like they had somebody who they were able to really share with, because I'm somebody who has been open even without being initiated by somebody else, that I'm a safe person that somebody could feel free to say, to tell those sorts of things to without fearing to be judged. And so I've always been pretty comfortable talking about this kind of stuff because, again, I've accepted that I'm not normal in a lot of ways, and I'm okay with that, and it's been one good thing in a way that I have found that at least I can somehow sometimes be a vehicle for other people who would feel safe to come and speak with me. Basically, I think I would say just the sense that it's okay to be okay, it's okay to not be okay. We learn to be able to accept what is good, what is bad, things that we struggle with or not, to be able to take them at face value. When you're able to acknowledge any situation for what it is, then you're able to deal with it, and when you're able to accept those types of things and define your struggles, it's easier for you to be able to move on. This whole process, never mind being part of going through what I have been, talking about how working the steps has helped me kind of come to terms with a lot in myself, where it's Now, it's great that there is a point on the other side where it's not just learning what was wrong and how to manage, but to be in a place to be able to tell the whole story, where that chaos comes together, and in the end where it means something, where I'm able to define all the things that I've gone through, helps me to be able to then define how I have been able to move on, and that there'll be ways in other people are able to hopefully benefit from what's going on. Because as I see it play out in different areas of my life, it makes it more comfortable and more worth it to be able to share these things on a bigger scale when I'm able to experience firsthand and to hear from people how my story has, if it's resonated with them, or maybe it's helped them point an area in their life or something that they're struggling with that maybe is worth putting time into that it might not feel like.